Why Jesus? Out of all the religions in the world, why choose Jesus out of all the faiths that you could choose to believe in? Why Jesus Christ? Why put your faith in him as the Lord and Savior of your life? Well, first we have to look at the historical evidence of just Jesus' life and his death. Now, as Christians, we believe in his divinity in the Trinity and his death and resurrection 3 days later. But we don't all have to accept that, not as Christians, but if you were a non-believer, you don't have to accept that. You can accept that he was a man, because if you look at the historical evidence, he is one of the most historically prominent figures, religious-wise, out of everything. There's not really another person who compares to the historical fame, you could say, of Jesus Christ. And you don't have to agree that he was divine or if he was this or that. It's just, it seems like interesting that almost all of them are either in some way mention him, decline him, or in some way just point to him. And that's just kind of funny and something to think about when you're kind of, if you are a non-believer or an atheist, or just something that you're pondering as someone who doesn't believe. And just looking at other religions like Jehovah's Witness, or as Mormons, or as the Catholic Church or Islam, they all accept Jesus in some way, either that he was just a man, either that he was divine, either he died and rose again, or he rose spiritually, didn't rise physically, or he was a prophet. They all accept him as a person. And it's funny that not many of these other famous or worldwide religions really point to another person that lived up to this in any way at all. And that's just kind of interesting to look at when you're having this faith conversation. So, how does Christ compare to the other religions? And I would just say it kind of boils down to good deeds versus good God. And I think the difference between Christ and all the other religions is that it's all about, with all the other religions, it's about good works and living a good life to equal a good relationship with that God and a good afterlife promise to them almost. And it's different for us Christians because we believe that our God, he came down from heaven and he made himself to the mortal body, and he experienced crucial, brutal pain for us, and he died, but he didn't stay dead. 3 days later he rose from the grave, defeating the grave and defeating sin, paying a sin debt that we could never pay. And that's the difference between our God, is that our God came down and paid a debt and made us right with God, something that we could never do through good works or through following him, something that we could never live up to. That's an impossible task. So that's why I'd say that that's a core fundamental difference between Jesus and these other religions. Now, you would say, well, also with Christianity, by following him also don't you get to this afterlife? We follow him not because we're required to, but out of what God did for us, what Christ did on the cross, and what he did in the grave, out of reverence for him, we follow that choice. Not by choice, but almost because we need to, because of out of our love for Christ, for what he did for us. We follow him, and we love and obey his commands. And not because of a legalistic view and like you have to obey all these commands to be right, because he already paid that price, the highest price, a life. And that's the difference. That's why Jesus Christ is completely above everything else that we could ever do, because it's not about good deeds, it's about a good God. I would just pray that this wouldn't be my opinion, and I wouldn't be trying to bash all these other religions or anything like that, and it would just not be me trying to persuade you, but it would just be God speaking through me. And I just pray that this would be, you would just come at this from an open perspective and open mind, and really just try and read the facts. Read who God is and what it points to. And just, I pray that this video would be a blessing, and that it would just open your eyes to a new perspective of who Jesus Christ is and what he did for you on the cross. I'll see you in the next one.